Hi everyone. I just want to talk about Buddhism in 2023. Now, Buddhism is a very old religion. It's been around for a long, long time, but it's still really relevant today. And a lot of people are moving away from religion, and a lot of people are atheists now, or maybe even agnostic. That's a pretty large group. So why would Buddhism be relevant to anyone today? Well, so many people are so unhappy. We have the highest levels of anxiety and depression, stress, suicide. The mental health problems around the world, everywhere, are so huge now that we need any help we can get, really. We need to develop strategies and different techniques that can help people. There's millions of people who are having anxiety or depression right now as we speak. And sometimes professional mental health services help, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes people feel, well, it's not for them, or it's they've tried it and it hasn't helped them. So we need to look at all different modalities and see where we can help people. And I think the principles of Buddhism are very relevant today. The thing I like about Buddhism is it doesn't have a lot of rules like some of the other religions. You don't have to go to church, you don't have to go anywhere to practice Buddhism. You don't have to listen to religious leaders. You don't have to follow any doctrines or laws. There are some countries where, there are temples that people go to and they follow some rituals, but you don't have to do it like that. And it's very much about improving yourself from within. It's about becoming a better person, using your life experience to become a wiser person, more mature, more sensible, able to help other people and help society and contribute and give back. So maybe some of these threads go through all of religions, but some of the other religions have got caught up in the rules. You mustn't do this, you can't do that, rather than the expression of the self-realization. And this is where Buddhism is different from the others, because that self-realization and self-improvement is so critical to the tenets of Buddhism. It's a journey. We're born, we live on this earth for, up to 100 years. And it's a journey of self-improvement. And in Buddhism, we think of reincarnation. So you get several chances at coming down to earth and improving yourself. So each time you have an experience of living on earth is a chance for you to develop more and to improve yourself more and develop your character more. And so you keep doing that until eventually you get it right. And then you're released. And so, Buddha talked about the pain and suffering you learn through the pain. And to a certain extent, that's true, because there's an awful lot of life that's painful. There's very few of us go through life without having any pain or distress at all. We've all got things to worry about, whether it's relationships or money or career. There's lots of things going on that people are concerned about and gives them distress. And so having some principles to live by can give you a lot of help and support through these difficult times. And that's where a lot of people, the people who are religious, who have some sort of religion, whatever it is, usually they derive a lot of support from it, and it helps them come to terms with what's happening in life and, all the distressing things. So it's great when your life's going well, but during the bad times, sometimes people need a little bit of extra support. So this is where any religion can give people support and reasons to keep going. But Buddhism gives you a direction which is very much about healing yourself from within and the tools to cope with your problems. So you're always developing your character and your emotional resilience and your emotional intelligence. This is, I think, what Buddhism is all about, is talking about all these things. Way back when Buddha first put all this together, there weren't those terms, emotional intelligence and emotional resilience and being centered. But if those terms had been around, I guarantee he would have used them and he would have been talking about them. So it's very much still relevant to today, and it's something that can help many, many people. So we've talked about mental distress, anxiety, stress, depression, all of these things that affect people today. But it can also help in other ways in society in general. So we're kind of lost our way a lot in terms of ethics and ethical behaviour. And you can see that in the way economies are run and countries are run. We've got a recession going on at the moment. There's a lot of disparity between the rich and the poor. We've got billionaires who are making money out of other people's distress. We've got very unethical behaviour in the financial world. So investment banks, stockbrokers and traders, all these kind of people have seemed to have lost their moral compass, and it's all just about short-term gain for them personally. So how much money they can make for themselves because of how much money they've made for their company or their investors. And that has had a huge negative effect on the wealth of the world, really. So you're talking about, there was always wealthy people who made money in the stock market and that sort of thing. But since the 1970s, when a lot of things happened in the financial world, deregulation, new financial products coming up, like the subprime mortgage crisis, things like that have happened because of things that happened in the 70s and 80s. So we've been building on that in the last 50 years, to the point now where there's very few ethical people in the financial world that you can trust. Everybody seems to have an angle. So what they're saying is, it's going to be good for you, but actually it's going to be good for them. But they're just not telling us. So there's a whole lot of problems, and people are starting to fight back now and said, well, that's not the kind of world we want. And how can we bring all these billionaires and all these big companies to book and get them to contribute more? So it's all very well them saying that they're philanthropic and they're giving monies to charities and foundations and things. But there's other ways they can contribute by, paying an equal share of taxes. If we all paid a small amount of tax, the governments would have plenty of money to help everyone. Anyway, that's a personal opinion of mine. You may not feel the same. But the general consensus is that these big multinational companies are not pulling their weight, and they're taking money from the poor, and it's all going upwards to the wealthy people. And we're not seeing any of the benefits of it. So how else have we lost our moral compass? Well, there's still wars going on. The politicians don't seem to be trustworthy. Again, we've come to accept that our politicians can be as unethical as they like, and we will just accept that. It's almost accepted now that we know politicians are going to lie, and we're quite happy with that. And how did that happen? How did we get to that place where it's okay for politicians to lie and be greedy and to do things to benefit themselves or to benefit their sponsors, the people who put them in power in the first place. It's just not right, and we know it's not right, but we all feel powerless to do anything about it. We're all just sitting there going, this is terrible, but how can me, just a lowly one person, make any difference? So that is creating a lot of distress for people, I think. We see people struggling financially, people struggling to feed their families in many, many countries around the world, and even in supposedly wealthy Western countries. There's a lot of people now who are on food stamps and food banks and that sort of thing. So we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to the basics of humanity and some sort of ethical and honest behaviour and honest feelings of empathy and caring for other people. It's not just me and it's not just my family, although that's where it starts, caring for your family, but then caring for your community and then caring for the bigger community. So that might be a country, but it might not be. There's a lot of things that are done wrong on behalf of nations, wars and xenophobia and racism and things. So we don't necessarily want that, but we want the good aspects of coming together as a community and doing what's right for all of us, not just me. So we've lost our way ethically and morally. A lot of us have. There's a lot of good people. I think, my feeling is still that most people are good, but somehow we've lost our way. And so how do we get back to there? Well, I think the Buddhist principles are a really good place to start. And I don't mean that people should become Buddhists or, become religious or have to call themselves Buddhists, but I think the principles of Buddhism are things that anybody can apply to their life and help them become a better person and become better in developing these characteristics of inside what's the right thing you should be doing. Like, most of us know what's the right thing. We don't need a religion to tell us the right thing to do. We're not always good at doing it, of course. You don't always do the right thing, but we can try, and we can bring ourselves to a better characterization where it's easier for us to do the right thing. And I think this is where Buddhism, really helps in that self-improvement, that self-realization, that you can apply those principles just in your home when you're on your own and live by those principles day by day. And if we all started doing that, then I think very quickly the world would become a better place. I think we need more people who are thinking about ethics, who are thinking about doing the right thing, what's good for everyone together, not just me as an individual. And again, we've seen the rise of the individual very much in, the last 50, 70 years. Instead of sublimating our desires for the good of the group, we have then, developed this idea that what's good for the individual is paramount. What's good for me is the most important thing. And we know now that doesn't work. It doesn't work particularly well because we really want to work together. We want to, most of us want the world to be a better place for everyone. There's no doubt. I don't think anybody could argue with that. But how do we do it? And I think it starts with us. Starts with us as each individually. And it might just start in a very small way. It just might be, thinking about other people a little bit more, or doing, one random act of kindness every day to just a stranger or somebody in your family. But we can make the world a better place. by just applying these principles. And in future videos, I want to give you a little bit more detail about what those principles are and how you can employ them in your life really easily without actually having to embrace the whole religion. But just take some of the principles and just use them to give yourself more confidence, more resilience, and then the peace of mind to be able to think not just about ourselves but other people and the rest of the community. So that's all I want to say today, but we can certainly go into this in more detail as we go over time. And I look forward to sharing more things with you and also getting your feedback and your ideas about what else you would like to hear about. So we'll talk again soon.